We're plunging straight into the deep end today, the claustrophobic, deeply disturbing found footage of the VexmoraX Files. Specifically, we're tearing open Case 18. You guys know this one. It's often called The Bride Was Still Waiting. And look, we have to treat this with the absolute gravity of a true psychological horror documentary. You already know these files test the boundaries of reality, but what we're breaking down today, it's a visceral, absolute nightmare of a cursed romance. We're going to look at exactly how this suspense is built, frame by horrifying frame.
So the footage picks up right after that catastrophic system failure. Just imagine the sheer, suffocating terror of this moment. The broken body cam has been totally dead for an agonizing stretch, and then it finally comes back online. But there is absolutely no visual at first. It's just static. You can hear his panicked breathing, utter, suffocating darkness. The detective is still trapped inside that underground chapel. And then, right out of the pitch black, we get this audio, a woman's voice. Specifically, Elena's ghostly voice, and she whispers directly into the microphone, "You tried to leave." Man, it is such an incredibly intimate, invasive auditory jump scare. It just instantly sets this tone of absolute paralyzing dread.
Naturally, the detective immediately spins around, right? You would too. But Elena is gone, completely vanished. Instead, the camera pans over and reveals a literal waking nightmare, the smiling guests. The wedding guests from the ceremony up above, they haven't left. They are just standing there, perfectly motionless in the dim light, and they are maintaining these wide, unnatural, completely eerie smiles. Then, in total unison, completely breaking that dead silence, they all turn. Every single guest raises an arm and points toward this dark, fog-filled hallway located just behind the altar.
This entire sequence is just pure psychological horror, and it unfolds in three very distinct steps. Step 1, that collective pointing. Step 2, one by one, the guests begin this slow, synchronized march straight into the absolute darkness. But it is step 3 that completely shatters the mind. The detective follows them, and not because he wants to, not because he's trying to investigate. He follows because his body is literally no longer his own. His autonomy is just gone. He's being hijacked, forced to march helplessly into those dark tunnels right alongside them.
Section 1. The Hallway of Memories, a Century of Impossible Truths.
As the detective is dragged deeper into this subterranean corridor, we see that the endless, damp walls are just lined with these old wedding photos. But as that body cam focuses in, the dread really starts to mount. You start to notice the anomaly. The detective is in these photos. We literally see him at different ages, a younger version, an older version. Just imagine that creeping terror for a second, finding your own face staring right back at you in this ancient, impossible place down in the dark.
The cinematic pacing really accelerates here, mimicking this frantic, panic-induced zoom in. Because the timeline anomalies, they become completely undeniable. We're seeing different clothing, entirely different eras, mid-century suits, turn-of-the-century formal wear. It is just this dizzying barrage of visual evidence that defies every single law of time and space.
But here is the most chilling realization of all. Across all these different ages, all these clothes, all these centuries, he was always standing beside Elena. In every single iteration caught on film, he is the groom. He's been trapped in this eternal, inescapable loop with this cursed bride, and he is only just now realizing that he has been down here for his entire existence.
This relentless, forced march finally comes to a halt at a massive obstacle. The detective arrives at this heavy, rusted metal door that completely seals off the tunnel. And right above the frame of this door, deeply carved into the ancient stone, is a sinister warning: love never dies below. Just as the camera focuses on those ominous words, that heavy metal door agonizingly begins to creak open entirely on its own, just inviting him into whatever fresh nightmare lies beyond.
Section 2. Chamber of Bloody Rings. The Ancient Cult Ritual.
The very first thing the body cam captures in this new room is the ceiling. And the scale of this curse, it's unimaginable. Hundreds. There are literally hundreds of wedding rings suspended from the stone ceiling on these thin, little threads. And in that cold light, the horrifying detail clicks into place. Each and every single ring is heavily coated in dried blood. It's a massive, sickening testament to countless failed escapes, or maybe it's the remnants of past tragic cycles of this exact same ritual.
Slowly, the camera tilts down to the center of the ritual chamber, and waiting there, bathed in that freezing cold blue lighting, is a faceless priest. Impossibly tall, unnervingly thin,
and its face is completely hidden beneath layers of draping black cloth. It hasn't moved an inch. It was simply waiting for him.
The dead silence of the chamber shatters when the priest finally speaks. Now, the audio on the found footage is incredibly distorted here, but the words, they are absolutely unmistakable. With this hushed, vibrating intensity, it delivers this ominous greeting. You finally returned to your bride. So, his arrival down here wasn't an accident. Not at all. It was completely preordained.
What follows is just a shattering psychological collision. The detective finally regains his voice and he screams in pure, desperate denial, "I don't know her!" But in response, the priest just calmly lifts an ancient, decaying photograph. The camera zooms in. It's dated 1891, and staring back at the detective right beside Alina is himself. The exact same face, the exact same eyes. Absolutely zero aging over a century. That tangible proof completely fractures his reality right then and there. And right at the peak of this horrific realization, a shadow moves. Elena suddenly steps right out from the darkness behind him. She leans over his shoulder and she whispers this devastating line directly into his ear, which means it goes right into the body cam. "You promised me forever before you died." Guys, this is sheer emotional horror. Is he in purgatory? Is he some kind of reincarnated sacrifice? Or is he just a ghost who completely forgot his own death?
Section 3. The Forgotten Past. Glitches in the Mind.
Suddenly, the footage suffers a catastrophic breakdown. A massive static glitch just rips violently across the screen, and these repressed memories flood the body cam. We are hit with absolute sensory overload. It's a tragic wedding ceremony taking place inside the hotel above. You see flickering candles, heavy rain pouring against the windows. But here's the twist. Elena isn't a ghostly tormentor here. She is crying. She looks absolutely terrified. And it's the detective's own hands that are aggressively forcing the wedding ring onto her finger. Before we can even process what that means, the footage violently cuts again. The perspective is shaky, breathless, terrified, running, screaming, escaping. The detective is fleeing his own wedding. He is sprinting through these exact same underground tunnels, tearing at his clothes, screaming in absolute terror, just desperately trying to escape the vows he'd just made.
The footage ends abruptly on a final, agonizing frame of static. We are left with this narrative that completely folds in on itself. A tragic, violent loop of a man fleeing a curse, only to be endlessly dragged back to the altar. Which brings us to a really haunting final thought for this explainer. If the vows were truly eternal, and death itself is not an escape, can Case 18 ever truly be closed? Or is the detective just destined to wake up, find another broken body cam, and walk down that dark hallway all over again? Let that sink in.